Have you ever brought home a beautiful, crisp plastic clamshell of fresh strawberries from Target or Kroger, given them a quick 5-second rinse under the kitchen tap, and popped one into your mouth, only to notice a weird, faintly chemical, bitter aftertaste? Or maybe you've noticed your lemons, apples, or potatoes staying perfectly glossy and pristine in your pantry for literally a month, looking more like plastic kitchen decor than actual organic matter that's supposed to decompose. You probably figured, hey, that's just modern agriculture, right? It's just a little extra wax, no big deal, everything is washed before it hits the shelves. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that innocent daily routine is actually a high-stakes game of chemical Russian roulette that you didn't agree to play. By the time you finish this video, you'll find out exactly what kind of invisible toxic cocktail is riding shotgun on your family's dinner plates every single day. I'm going to show you the hard laboratory data. We'll break down the specific chemical compounds currently coating American produce that are completely banned in other developed nations. And you'll see the multi-million-dollar corporate lobbying machine designed to keep you completely in the dark while you shop. Trust me, when we get to the absolute #1 offender near the end of our countdown, you are going to look at your morning toast and your favorite supermarket grocery aisle completely differently. You are going to realize that the food system isn't just broken, it's actively pulling a fast one on you. Before we start naming and shaming the specific agricultural giants and household brands filling your local pantry, we need to understand how the American produce industry actually operates behind closed doors. Think of the modern grocery supply chain like a cutthroat cosmetic industry, but for things you actually swallow. When you walk into a major grocery store like Walmart, Safeway, or Publix, you aren't looking at a natural harvest. You are looking at a curated beauty pageant. Fruits and vegetables are no longer grown to taste good or to be dense with life-sustaining nutrients. Instead, they are aggressively engineered to survive a 3,000-mile cross-country road trip in the dark back of a semi-truck, sit in a distribution center for weeks, and still look unnaturally perfect under harsh fluorescence lighting. To achieve this corporate miracle, industrial agribusiness treats the open field like a sterile manufacturing floor. It's a multi-layered chemical gauntlet from seed to shelf. Imagine buying a brand new car, but instead of a protective clear coat of paint, the factory drenches the vehicle in an invisible layer of industrial liquid that slowly leaks into the cabin air every time you turn on the AC. That is essentially what is happening to our agricultural crops. Systemic pesticides don't just sit on the outside of a piece of fruit like a jacket you can easily peel off. They are drawn up through the roots and circulated through the very veins of the plant as it grows. You cannot wash away a chemical that has literally become part of the physical cellular structure of the potato or carrot you are mashing up for your kids. The entire American food supply relies on a massive legal loophole and a regulatory philosophy that is completely backwards compared to the rest of the civilized world. In the United States, the Environmental Protection Agency operates on a reactive framework when it comes to chemical safety for massive corporations. This means a pesticide is generally allowed to be sprayed across millions of acres of American soil until a massive, tragic body of independent scientific evidence forces a restriction decades later. Meanwhile, overseas regulators lean heavily into the precautionary principle. If there is even a strong hint or laboratory data suggesting a chemical can scramble human hormones, destroy reproductive health, or trigger cellular mutation, they yank it from the market immediately. Our regulatory system is essentially treating the average American consumer like a canary in a coal mine, quietly waiting to see how many of us get sick before they finally consider stepping in. And the absolute wildest part of this entire setup: the industrial food complex masks this toxic operation behind incredibly vague, comforting marketing terms that you see every single time you shop. They love to slap phrases like "treated for freshness" or "post-harvest protection" in microscopic print on the mesh bags of your oranges or the bottom of your potato sacks. It sounds totally benign and responsible, right? Like they're just giving the food a nice, cozy blanket to keep it nice and fresh for your family. In reality, it is a corporate euphemism designed to conceal everything from synthetic hormone disruptors to animal-derived insect secretions that make your food completely unfit for certain lifestyles. They are counting on the fact that you are too busy, too tired, and too overwhelmed by grocery store inflation to stand in the aisle squinting at the label with a magnifying glass. But today, we are tearing off that mask completely. Let's dive straight into the Hall of Shame, counting down the most concerning chemical offenders currently hitching a ride into your kitchen from major American supermarkets, We start at number 9 with dimethomorph. This is a heavy-duty fungicide heavily utilized across California and Florida fields, specifically targeting Driscoll's berries and various store-brand conventional raspberries and strawberries found at Target and Kroger. The European Chemicals Agency has completely banned this compound because it is officially classified as toxic to human reproduction, meaning independent laboratory data shows it can actively damage human fertility and disrupt embryonic development. Strawberries are a staple of the American suburban summer. They are packed into school lunchboxes, blended into morning smoothies, and handed to toddlers as a healthy snack. Yet, while European families eat berries free of this compound, American agribusiness continues to drench conventional berry fields in a chemical flagged for reproductive harm. If you already feel like checking your own refrigerator right now, make sure to hit that subscribe button because the sheer scale of corporate cost-cutting only gets harsher from here. Moving to number 8, we have benthiavallicarb, a systemic fungicide that goes straight into the heart of the ultimate American comfort food, potatoes. Whether you are buying 5-pound mesh bags of russet potatoes from Walmart's Great Value line or classic Idaho potatoes from Safeway, this chemical is widely deployed to prevent late blight. The European Union enacted a total ban on benthiavallicarb after international oncological researchers proposed its classification as a known carcinogen, linking it directly to cellular mutations and tumor growth in mammalian test subjects. Think about a classic American family dinner: golden French fries, a tray of loaded baked potatoes, or smooth mashed potatoes. The humble potato props up a massive portion of the standard American diet, yet the industrial supply chain allows this crop to be treated with a substance pulled entirely from European soil over cancer concerns. It is a stunning double standard that turns a basic dietary staple into a quiet health gamble. Number 7 introduces metribuzin, a stubborn weed killer frequently applied to conventional carrot and potato crops supplied to grocery giants like Publix and H-E-B. European regulators blacklisted metribuzin after identifying it as a powerful endocrine disruptor, which is a class of chemicals that can mimic or block human hormones, throwing off the body's entire endocrine system. What makes metribuzin an absolute nightmare for the conscious shopper is that you cannot simply wash or scrub it off. Because it is a pre-emergence herbicide sprayed directly onto the soil, root vegetables like carrots grow completely surrounded by the chemical, drawing it upward through their root systems as they mature. When independent nonprofits test conventional American carrots and onions, they routinely find a chemical cocktail of dozens of different pesticides embedded deep within the flesh of the vegetable itself, making a kitchen sink rinse completely useless against an endocrine disruptor that has been pulled from foreign markets. At number 6 is clofentazine, an orchard pesticide used extensively on conventional apples, like the Gala or Honeycrisp varieties sold in bulk at Costco or Sam's Club, as well as on domestic pears. The European Union banned clofentazine over documented concerns regarding thyroid toxicity and long-term hormonal disruption. In the United States, an apple is the universal symbol of pure, unadulterated health. We toss them into our kids' backpacks and hand them out thinking we are making the most responsible nutritional choice possible. It is deeply unsettling to realize that this classic American fruit can be legally cultivated using a chemical that overseas scientists determined was far too hazardous to health to remain on their trees, proving that the wholesome imagery on supermarket packaging is completely disconnected from industrial field practices. Number 5 brings us to mepanopyrum, another systemic fungicide frequently detected on conventional soft fruits like strawberries and blackberries sold at major chains like Aldi and Wegmans. This compound is completely banned in Europe due to its status as a confirmed endocrine disruptor. Data from agricultural investigations reveal that these soft fruits are not just sprayed once early in the season. Corporate megafarms spray them repeatedly, layer upon layer, throughout the entire growing cycle. Because strawberries have no thick protective outer peel, they act like tiny organic sponges, absorbing these hormonal disruptors straight into their flesh. It is the relentless repetition of these chemical applications that creates a cumulative exposure that the little green plastic baskets at the front of the store never mention. Number 4 is S-metolachlor, a heavy-duty herbicide used across millions of acres of American corn, soy, and commercial green peas, including those destined for frozen bags at local supermarkets. European environmental agencies banned this weed killer due to its high toxicity to mammals and its extreme tendency to leach into groundwater. Groundwater isn't a distant abstract concept. It is the vital resource that feeds our municipal water systems and eventually flows directly out of your kitchen faucet. A bag of simple frozen peas is supposed to be the ultimate wholesome, budget-friendly side dish for a family dinner. Yet the crop itself is grown using an environmental hazard that contaminates the very water tables surrounding agricultural communities. You can peel a vegetable, but you cannot peel an entire watershed once a persistent herbicide has contaminated it. At number 3, we look at spirotetramat, an insecticide commonly used on conventional root vegetables, broccoli, and leafy greens found at regional chains like Meijer or Food Lion. While European approvals for this chemical were allowed to quietly expire and lapse due to clear laboratory evidence, showing it is highly toxic to honeybees, aquatic life, and native pollinators, American regulators simply rolled over the commercial licenses. Without healthy bee populations, the entire foundational structure of American agriculture collapses, leading to empty shelves and skyrocketing food inflation. Allowing a pollinator-killing chemical to remain legal on everyday vegetables is a slow-burning systemic crisis masquerading as routine crop management. Number 2 is etoxazole, a targeted mite killer used on conventional tomatoes and eggplants at major retailers nationwide. European food safety authorities evaluated etoxazole and explicitly decreed that it could only be used on ornamental plants, meaning decorative greenhouse flowers like petunias and shrubs that will never touch a human tongue. Yet, in the United States, regulations allow this exact same chemical to be sprayed directly onto food crops like Roma and beefsteak tomatoes. It is a jaw-dropping corporate double standard. A chemical deemed far too hazardous for a European dinner plate is considered perfectly fine for an American salad. Finally, at number 1, we have ipecacuanha, a hidden chemical that you would never think to check because it is used as a systemic seed treatment on barley and wheat, the foundation of American sandwich bread, flour, morning cereal, and beer. Banned completely across the European Union over clear evidence linking it to reproductive toxicity and potential harm to unborn children, it remains fully authorized by the U.S. government. Because the United States operates an entirely independent pesticide approval network, our standards have steadily drifted away from international safety benchmarks. When even the basic grain in your pantry's bread box is grown from seeds treated with a reproductive hazard, you realize this isn't a minor flaw, it is a thoroughly compromised food system. And now, what it was worth watching all the way through for. We have waded through the corporate slime, the banned chemical cocktails, and the regulatory smoke and mirrors, but you do not have to leave the grocery store empty-handed or terrified. There are fantastic, clean, and highly accessible options sitting right on American shelves that completely bypass the systemic chemical gauntlet. The best part? You don't need a luxury budget to protect your family's health, because the industry's best alternatives span from everyday budget standbys to premium gold standards, all available at the stores you already visit every single week. We begin with the most accessible, wallet-friendly entry on our list, Kroger's Simple Truth organic line, which is also widely distributed across the country through its subsidiary chains like Ralph's, King Soopers, Fred Meyer, and Smith's. Kroger launched this brand specifically to democratize clean eating, and their entire produce and grain lineup carries the official USDA organic seal. This certification means every single potato, bag of carrots, or loaf of bread is legally barred from being grown with the synthetic fungicides, endocrine-disrupting weed killers, or toxic seed treatments we exposed earlier. In practice, when you grab a bag of Simple Truth organic russet potatoes or baby carrots, you'll immediately notice they don't have that synthetic, lingering bitter taste or greasy chemical sheen. They look and taste exactly like vegetables pulled straight from a backyard garden. Financially, this is an absolute win. A 5-pound bag of their organic potatoes generally costs only about $1 to $1.50 more than the chemical-drenched conventional option. When you break that down, it equates to mere pennies per serving to completely eliminate benthiavalicarbb and metribuzin from your dinner table. The only minor downside is that because they don't drench the crops in post-harvest preservation chemicals, a bag of organic potatoes might sprout a week faster in your pantry than the conventional plastic-like spuds. So you'll want to buy only what you plan to cook within a couple of weeks. Tasting Table Show 1 next up is Cal Organic Farms, a true pioneer in large-scale sustainable agriculture whose vibrant produce is packed onto the shelves of mainstream supermarkets like Walmart, Safeway, and Publix nationwide. Founded in California's San Joaquin Valley, Cal Organic has spent decades mastering the art of farming without relying on the industrial chemical crutches used by mega corporations. Instead of using hazardous synthetic soil sterilizers, they rotate their crops naturally and utilize beneficial insects to keep pests at bay. When you slice into a cal-organic carrot or bunch of celery, you are getting a rich, sweet, naturally robust flavor profile because the plant drew its nutrients from healthy living compost rather than a chemical-saturated dead soil matrix. Food industry quality assurance specialists consistently give Cal Organic top marks for strict adherence to third-party non-GMO and organic purity standards. Price-wise, they are incredibly competitive, often priced virtually identically to conventional produce when major grocery stores run their weekly sales cycles, making them the absolute ideal option for anyone looking to switch their daily staples to clean alternatives without blowing up their monthly grocery budget, if you prefer to buy your staples in bulk to feed a busy household. Look no further than Costco's private label, Kirkland Signature Organic. Costco has quietly used its massive corporate leverage to become one of the largest purveyors of organic food in the entire world, frequently outpacing even specialized health food chains. Their Kirkland Signature Organic line includes massive bags of frozen peas, frozen berries, large clamshells of fresh spinach, and whole wheat flour. By buying in bulk, the cost per serving for things like frozen sweet peas drops down to a point that is often completely identical to, or even cheaper than, buying small conventional bags at a standard regional supermarket. These products carry dual certifications, meeting both strict USDA organic guidelines and the non-GMO Project Verified standard, ensuring that absolutely no ipconazole seed treatments or S-metolachlor groundwater contaminants are making it into your family's morning pancakes or side dishes. The obvious trade-off here is the bulk requirement. You need the upfront membership, and you need a decent amount of freezer and pantry space to store these larger quantities, but for an active family, it is an unbeatable shield against the industrial food complex. Farm to Me, finally, for the absolute pinnacle of agricultural integrity, we look to Earthbound Farm Organic, a legendary brand available at premium grocers like Whole Foods, Sprouts Farmers Market, and top-tier independent food cooperatives. Starting as a tiny 2.5-acre raspberry patch in Carmel Valley, Earthbound Farm grew into a national standard-bearer for regenerative, organic agricultural practices. They are so fanatical about purity that they conduct rigorous, multi-stage testing on their crops to ensure zero cross-contamination from neighboring conventional farms. When you eat their fresh strawberries, blackberries, or pre-washed salad greens, you are experiencing produce in its truest, highest quality form, crisp, vibrant, packed with natural antioxidants, and totally free of synthetic dimethomorph or post-harvest insect resin waxes. There is no mystery bitter aftertaste here, just pure nutrition. Now, let's be totally transparent. Earthbound Farm is a premium brand, and a punnet of their fresh organic berries can cost up to $2 more than the conventional, chemical-soaked alternative. It is undeniably expensive, but this is a targeted investment. If your budget is tight, this is the exact product where you choose to spend that extra premium, prioritizing your dollars on the soft fruits and leafy greens that your children eat by the handful and that lack an outer peel to block chemical absorption. It is the ultimate way to vote with your wallet for a clean, safe food supply. Now that you know exactly what is happening in the fields and behind the corporate grocery curtains, you need an actionable, bulletproof game plan to protect your kitchen and take back control at the checkout line. Here are 5 concrete, non-negotiable shopping rules that you should memorize or screenshot right now. First, look for the official green and white USDA organic seal on all soft fruits and root vegetables. This single label is your absolute legal guarantee that the crop was grown completely without the synthetic field sprays, reproductive toxins, and endocrine disruptors we expose today. Second, look for the words raw, unpeeled, and unwaxed on bulk boxes or mesh bags of lemons, limes, and oranges, especially if you plan to use the peel for baking or zesting. If a citrus fruit is shiny and does not explicitly say unwaxed, it is legally required by the FDA to have a post-harvest coating disclosure on the shipping crate, meaning it is covered in petroleum-based paraffin or animal-derived shellac. Third, when buying apples, pears, or stone fruits at mainstream retailers like Walmart or Safeway, look for a 5-digit PLU price lookup code on the sticker that starts with the number 9. A code starting with a 9 means it is certified organic, whereas a 4-digit code starting with a 3 or a 4 means it is conventional and has been subjected to standard industrial chemical washings. Fourth, always bypass the pre-cut, pre-packaged vegetable trays and individual plastic-wrapped baking potatoes at regional grocery chains like Publix or H-E-B. These items are frequently treated with undisclosed anti-browning, sulfite solutions, and post-harvest preservation agents to extend their artificial shelf life under fluorescent lighting. Fifth, make it a habit to check the physical shipping boxes underneath the produce display tables at your local grocery store. Retailers are legally obligated to display the bulk boxes or place counter cards detailing any post-harvest chemicals applied to the batch, allowing you to easily spot full chemical names like imazalil or thiabendazole right there in the aisle before the food ever touches your cart. When you step back and look at the entire landscape, the takeaway is blindingly clear. The American industrial food complex is intentionally built on a foundation of chemical dependence and structural secrecy because keeping you uninformed is highly profitable for chemical companies and agribusiness conglomerates. They want you to believe that washing your produce for a few seconds under a lukewarm tap is enough to erase a whole season of systemic agricultural treatments. But true consumer safety requires a fundamental shift in how we view our weekly grocery staples. You have to stop buying food based purely on a flawless cosmetic appearance and start demanding total transparency from the brands that supply your table. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time digging into the truth with me today. If this investigative breakdown opened your eyes or made you look at your kitchen pantry differently, please share this video with a friend or family member who buys conventional berries for their kids or loves to bake with fresh lemon zest, because ordinary families deserve to know exactly what they are paying for. I want to hear from you directly down in the comments, so tell me, which of these specific supermarket brands or produce items is sitting on your kitchen counter